Over 3 months after RBI placed restrictions on Mumbai-based PMC Bank, a similar restriction has now been placed on Bengaluru-based private cooperative bank called Sri Guru Raghavendra Sahakara Bank. The Reserve Bank of India has restricted this bank from carrying out business until further notice. Customers of the bank can only withdraw up to a limit of 35,000 rupees for the next 6 months. So Tanima, in fact, will now tell us about the directives that have come from RBI. Remember, there are two sets of directives, but before that, a brief history about this bank, because a lot of people are not familiar with this private cooperative bank. Tanima?
That's right. In fact, as we are reporting that this could be something which is similar in the lines of what we saw taking place in the PMC Bank case. But let's just take a look at what the background of Sri Guru Raghavendra Sahakara Bank is. So the bank actually started in 1997. So it's a relatively new bank which has started down south. Also, it has 9 branches specifically in Bengaluru. It's an important, there are 9 branches in Bengaluru. It's primarily Bengaluru-centric bank. There are at least 30,000, if we go into the following points there, and also the next point will show you there are at least 30,000 customers in this particular bank. So, of course, the scale and the level of the bank is not as big as what we have seen in the PMC Bank case, but nonetheless, there are 30,000 customers and majority of the customers are retired. So, again, what we saw in PMC, in the cooperative bank case as well, that in this case also, it's mostly the senior citizens who are affected because they were the ones who were using this bank to save up or invest their life savings. And that is primarily because, if we go into the next point, it's because the bank in fact offered a high rate of interest. Now, let me take our viewers through what exactly has changed. What is the new order or the curbs which have been put by the RBI when it comes to this particular bank? So the first point is that the bank shall not in fact grant or renew any loans or advances. That is the first curb which has been put by the RBI because, of course, there are some investigations being carried out on the functioning of the bank. The next point there, which also says that if we go into the following point, it will show that the RBI has said that the bank shall not make any investments. So in a way also trying to put a restriction on the capital or the amount which is parked in that particular bank. It has been told categorically by the RBI that the Sahakara Bank should not in fact make any sort of investments. Following another direction, the bank shall not incur any sort of liability. So, of course, if since there are investigations going on, the RBI does not want the bank to get into or add up to its liability list as well, which is why restrictions have been put in terms of investment and also in terms of not incurring any fresh liability. If we go into the following point, the RBI has also said that the bank shall not disperse or agree to disperse any sort of payment. Of course, as we know that currently it's been told that over the period of next 6 months, customers can withdraw up to 35,000 rupees each. But nonetheless, other than that, no additional payments will be made by this particular bank. If you go into the following point, the bank shall not enter into any compromise or arrangement and sell. That is, of course, in line with what the directions which have come earlier. The bank shall not transfer. If we go into the following point, that the bank shall not transfer or dispose of any of its properties or assets. So the RBI is also putting a restriction on that, saying that the bank, in case there is a shortfall of money, it is not it does not give permission for the bank to dispose of any of its properties or assets in order to make up for it. Customers of the bank, as I mentioned, within the over the period of next 6 months, can withdraw about 35,000 rupees each. So initially, of course, the curbs which have been put, if compared to the PMC Bank's case, is a little better. At that time, remember, initially it was only a few thousand rupees that the RBI had allowed customers to withdraw from the bank. And the bank can continue business till its financial position improves, of course. So that means that there is no operational, there is no direction to stop operations of the bank. That will continue. But till its financial position improves, it has to maintain and follow these directions. And the directions will be in force for the next 6 months starting 10th of January. So the date of the order is of 10th of January. And for the next 6 months, these directions will have to be followed.
Yes, Tanima, thanks for joining us with that. And let's also point out that this affects about 30,000 customers. And let's talk about them now, because this is not just a figure or a statistic. These are real people. Many of them are retired elderly people. Majority of the depositors in the bank are senior citizens who have invested their life savings and pension in the bank. Unfortunately, they now stare at a crisis of sorts. Meet Nagaraja, who's invested close to 1 crore in the bank, a customer of the bank for 15 years, and unsuspecting Nagaraj kept investing his savings in the bank and even urged his family to do so, not realizing that one day he will be in this position where a withdrawal limit will be slapped on his savings. He had been saving money for his 2 grandchildren. His son Kiran had also recently bought a flat, but today he clutches onto his passbook with little hope of receiving the money.
How many years have you been a customer with this bank, and are you hopeful that, the amount will come back?
More than 15 years, I have been a customer of Raghavendra Bank, and the service was satisfactory for all these years. Suddenly, this has come as a surprise.
Okay. So now you are also a senior citizen. Most of the, other investors, depositors, customers of the bank are also senior citizens. How is this, now going to affect your daily, everyday functioning? They have put a restriction of 35,000 to be withdrawn, for the next 6 months. So is this going to, have an impact on your everyday life?
Surely, because 35,000 rupees nowadays is nothing, considering the medical expenses we have to give. The medical expense alone comes to about 25,000 rupees, because I have BP, sugar and whatnot, so many other ailments. So I have to spend a lot of money, and I was depending on this only. Suddenly, all of a sudden, if it has been stopped, where do I go to get it? And it's surprising that within 3 days, such a news has come. And it's all annoying and frustrating.